Welcome back everyone. Today we are covering workload autoscaling in Kubernetes. This is a super important topic both in real world cluster and in CK exam. By the end of this session, you will know all three autoscaling methods, how to use the commands and how to tackle exam style scenario question. In the CK exam, domain 3 focuses on workload and scheduling. This includes deployment rollouts, configuration maps and secrets, robust workloads, pod admission and scheduling, and of course, workloads autoscaling. So, mastering autoscaling will give you an easy win on the exam. Now, Kubernetes provides three types of autoscaling. The first one is horizontal pod autoscaling. This one scales the number of pod replicas in your deployment, replica set or stateful set based on the metrics like CPU, memory, or any custom metrics or any external metrics. The second one is vertical pod autoscaler. This is instead of scaling out the pods, this one automatically adjusts the CPU and memory request for your existing pods, restarting them if needed. It means that increasing the CPU and memory of the existing pods rather than adding more number of pods. The third one is cluster autoscaling. This one adds or removes worker nodes automatically, usually when running in the cloud with AWS, GCP, or Azure. In the exam, you should know when to use each one. Now, let's look at a practical example. Here, I have given the commands of creating an HPA, which is horizontal pod autoscaler for the deployment called nginx deploy, and it is using the command kubectl autoscale deployment, where the average CPU percentage is kept as 60, and the number of replicas, minimum number of replicas is 1, and the maximum is 5. Now the kubectl get HPA command gives you the exact information to look on that how much memory or CPU has been used up according to the quota allotted. For HPA to work, you need metrics. The most common are the CPU and memory metrics, which come from the metrics server. When there are unscheduled pods, which the cluster autoscaler uses to decide if more nodes are needed. For example, if there are a number of unscheduled pods and they are not scheduled on any node, it means that there is a lack of capacity of the nodes. So the cluster autoscaler adds more worker nodes into the Kubernetes cluster. And now here is an example of exam style scenario. The traffic is expected to spike in a deployment or in an application. Your task is to configure autoscaling for the nginx deployment with minimum replicas of 1 and maximum replicas of 5 and target CPU utilization of 20%. Now coming towards the solution, which is actually our demo. Now first of all, let's see if there is any deployment present in this cluster or not. Now creating a deployment nginx with an image of nginx, and number of replicas are 1. Now setting up the resources of our deployment nginx, making the request quota for CPU and memory against the maximum limit. Now, after setting the resources, now exposing our Kubernetes, exposing our deployment on port number 80. Now the services with the name of Nginx has been created. Now using the kubectl autoscale command, where we define the maximum replicas of 5 and minimum replicas of 1, and the CPU average utilization to 20%. Now with kubectl get HPA, we get the required states. Now creating a pod which will initiate some traffic against this Nginx deployment, the Nginx pod, so that the utilization of our deployment increases. This pod is automatically sending the wget request to our deployment pod, so that the utilization of the CPU increases, and we come to know whether after the maximum utilization, the utilization average that we have defined as 20%, if the utilization of the actual pod increase from 20%, whether we get more replicas automatically or not. Now, as you can see that after some time, the request increases from the allocated average CPU utilization of 20%, and once it increases from 20%, the number of replicas are extended, and they are increased from 1 to 2. Now this slide explains when there is a traffic increase, the scaling up operations is conducted, and the replicas are increased from 1 to 2. But once we decrease the traffic and the traffic is less than 20%, the number of replicas are again scaled down to 1. Now that's it for our walkthrough of workload autoscaling in Kubernetes. Remember these takeaways. HPA, which is horizontal pod autoscaler, is based on pod CPU or memory usage. VPA, that is vertical pod autoscaler, changes the pod resources of the existing pod, like CPU and memory. It doesn't add another pod. And then we have cluster autoscaler, which changes the node counts. And for the exam, know that the kubectl autoscale syntax by heart. Thanks for watching. If this helped with your CK preparation, don't forget to like and subscribe. Thank you very much.